Junction City Council meeting for March 21st, 2023 to order, and ask everyone to put their phones on silence. The invocation will be led by Vice Mayor Schroeder, and Council Member Brian Scholler will give us the pledge.
Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity for us to all gather here on behalf of city business to nourish our growing city. We always ask that you keep a watchful eye out for our first responders, our police, our paramedics, and my fire department. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Wilson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Schroeder.
Here.
Councilmember Cross.
Here.
Councilmember Heck.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Nesser.
Present.
Councilmember Soller.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. As a reminder, all items under consent agenda will be approved with one motion. If a council member wishes to remove an item for further discussion, the request will be made prior to approving the consent agenda and will be moved to new business.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Soller.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder.
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser.
Yes.
Councilmember Cross.
Yes.
Councilmember Heck.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes, Your Honor.
Okay, I've got two proclamations this evening. The first one's a proclamation designating the month of April 2023 as National Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month. Proclamation recipients will be Heidi Miller, Director of the Sanctuary Movement for Children, and Michael Mendora, sorry, Chief Development Officer for Children Help. Okay. National Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month, April 2023. Whereas children abuse and neglect are a complex and ongoing problem in our society, affecting thousands of children and their families in the state of Arizona. And whereas every child is entitled to be loved, cared for, nurtured, feel secure, and is free from verbal, sexual, emotional, and physical abuse and neglect. Whereas it is the responsibility of every adult who comes in contact with a child to protect the child's inability, right to a safe, nurturing childhood, and further, its legal responsibilities for every adult to report child abuse and neglect. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because partnerships among families, social services agencies, schools, religious and civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. And whereas all citizens, community agencies, faith organizations, and businesses should work to increase their efforts to support families. Now, therefore, I, Chip Wilson, do virtual, my phone's ringing, virtual the authority invested in me as the mayor of the City of Apache Junction, Arizona, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 as Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month. Yeah. You only got one?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll get a copy of it.
Okay. You want to say something?
I just wanted to thank
Okay.
I want to thank Mayor Wilson and the whole council for their support for our efforts in April. And I also want to thank Supervisor Surdy for his support. The National Child Abuse Hotline is a free resource that people are not aware of. It's not a reporting agency. It is master's level social workers and counselors that can help with parenting issues. They can help if you want to know whether you should be making a report. You can call up and say, this is what I'm seeing, should I be making a report? You get calls from a 6-year-old who's lonely because they've moved to a new town. You get calls from teenage girls that are pregnant because of sexual abuse. You get calls from a 75-year-old woman who is a survivor of abuse and has never told anybody until now. And there's actually been a call, and I'm sure there's been more than one, where a police officer was on the line. They had a 15-year-old girl in front of them, and they couldn't get her to talk. And they finally asked her, who were you calling? And she said 1-800 for a child. She showed him the written number. And the officer called in and explained the situation, and we actually helped solve a murder case. That's how serious some of the things that we help and assist people with. And it's free, it's available 24/7, and we're putting the posters into the Apache Junction Library. We're putting accompanying information, and we've got 400 bookmarks from Child Help for parents and for children to take home. And I think this can make a significant difference in the education and awareness and reporting on abuse, and I thank you all for supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. And these are the bookmarks that you're talking about? Yes. Okay. 400. All right, proclamation designated March 29th, 2023 as Vietnam War Veterans Day. Al, you want to read who we're going to present to?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Al Bravo, Public Information Officer for the City of Apache Junction. And before we get to this proclamation, I did want to share a little bit of information about what we were doing this evening. In 2012, our nation launched a 13-year-long commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War to ensure every veteran, family, caregiver, and survivor impacted by those years feels the nation's gratitude for their sacrifice. That will culminate in the celebration, the marking of the 50th anniversary on March the 29th, 2025. There are 58,000 names etched in the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C., but it does not share the hundreds of thousands of others that have served, supported, and were impacted by the Vietnam conflict. Tonight we have members from our own VFW Post 7968, Post 9399, and the American Legion Post 27, who either served or are honoring those who did and are no longer with us. The VFW, for those of you who are unfamiliar, stands for the Veterans of Foreign Wars, a nonprofit service organization comprised of eligible veterans and military service members from the active guard and reserve forces. Founded in 1899 and chartered by Congress in 1936, the VFW is the nation's oldest and largest organization of war veterans. Also has an auxiliary component. Since 1914, the VFW Auxiliary has united Americans from all walks of life with a common purpose to improve the lives of veterans, service members, their families, and our communities. The American Legion is the nation's largest wartime veterans service organization committed to mentoring youth and sponsorship of wholesome programs in our communities, advocating patriotism and honor, promoting strong national security, and continued devotion to our fellow service members and veterans. And we have a number of folks in the audience this evening that we would like to acknowledge from VFW Post 7968. Phil Erickson, the Post Chaplain. Jason Walker, the Quartermaster. Jan Snyder, the Auxiliary President. Mary Erickson, Auxiliary Member. And Steve Van Bergen, Post Member. From the VFW Post 9399, Jim and Bambi Johnson, of course. Jim Johnson, the Commander. Council Member Bambi Johnson, Senior Vice President for the State of Arizona. And from American Legion Post 27, Ken Queen, Past Department Commander. We would like to acknowledge all of you at this time. Please stand. Councilmember Johnson, did you want to add a couple of things?
I don't know how many of those people that are out there wanted to say something at the end when they get their proclamation. One of the things that I'd like to bring up is it is wonderful to see that they have been doing so many different things for our Vietnam veterans, and they're going to have that 50th anniversary. There are so many times that people don't realize. We hear a lot about our organizations, our American Legion, and our VFWs. However, more of our veterans, whether they're from Vietnam or from other conflicts, are those that are walking on the streets every day. They're in your grocery store, you see them in the drugstores, you see them in the homeless shelters. You will see veterans all over. Try to remember, it's not just welcome home. Put out your hand and thank them with appreciation that they lived up to the oath that they gave to this country. Because Johnny and Jane, who go off to war, are not the John and Jane that come home. And we need to always be supportive of those, not just any particular war, but every time that somebody lived up to the obligation when they took their oath.
Thank you. Our proclamation, Mayor.
Thank you. Vietnam War Veterans Day, March 29th, 2023. Whereas today we honor all those who bravely served in Vietnam War, who were sacrificed and did their families and caregivers on behalf of our nation. And whereas for almost 2 decades, Americans raised their right hand and committed to serve and defend our Constitution as informed members of the United States Armed Forces during a tremendous period in our country history. Throughout the years of the Vietnam War, 9 million Americans earned the title of the United States veteran. Today and every day we honor their bravery and commitment they gave, thanks to our generation of Americans who it's a wrong word, valiantly fought in service of our country they loved, while recognizing the continued impact on so many veterans of the Vietnam conflict. And whereas every service member of the Vietnam generation should know their sacrifices mattered and that they service made a difference. The 58,000 names etched on the wall of the Veteran Memorial remind us of our loved ones who gave their all and never came home again. Their legacy of patriotism and dedication to the country is inspiring to all Americans. And whereas it is appropriate that all citizens remember the bravery of those who served and those who gave their lives so that their sacrifices served as a reminder of the cost of freedom. Now, therefore, I, Chip Wilson, Mayor of the City of Apache Junction, do hereby proclaim March 29th, 2023 as Vietnam War Veterans Day, and urge all citizens of Apache Junction to take the time and extend a moment of gratitude to our nation's Vietnam veterans. I have them come up.
I don't.
Yeah. It's late, but you're gonna, it's late, but we are in case. Oh, that's right, he hasn't given the city meeting, yeah, yeah. The mayor being a Vietnam
dad, 4 brothers, my ex-husband, my sister's husband. We're all in Vietnam. Huh? And I was a civilian, Air Force employee during Vietnam.
I just about said it that way.
My dad, most of my brothers said, you know,
Yes, who's going to? Okay.
Korea wasn't war. We haven't had a declared war since World War II.
And on behalf of all 3 organizations represented here tonight, I want to thank the mayor and the council for this recognition. It's for many of the returnees from Vietnam, this is far overdue, and we appreciate it greatly.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I served 2 tours in Vietnam, wounded a couple of times, witnessed a lot of things happening, did a lot of things myself. For over 40 years, I dwelled in all that misery and everything else. A couple of years ago, I got up one morning and I got to thinking, if you all remember right, that was a time of snail mail, where when we were in country and stuff like that, it was all just the postal service. So, you know, days or weeks went by in between correspondence, unless we got to a Mars station. I'm sure Chip remembers the Mars station. Over. Radio telephone. So we didn't know what was going on at home much, nor did the families know what was going on with us. And for all those years, I was so selfish to think only of myself and what I had gone through and what I had experienced in country. I never thought about my family or friends and all the misery and wonder and ponder that they were doing about what was going on with me. So every time I get in front of a group of any size people, whether it be a city council meeting or a flag raising, I always make it a point to share that the veterans were in country are not the only ones that are the casualties of the Vietnam War. Any family member, wife, or good friend, or relative of any Vietnam vet is also a casualty of that war. Or any family member of any war is a casualty. Like General George Patton said, probably one of the greatest generals this nation's ever had. No one hates war more than the man that has to fight it. Very powerful words. I wish they'd take that into consideration every time they decided to get into a conflict in Washington, D.C. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, Apache Post 27 was chartered in 1958 here in Apache Junction, Arizona. And we are duty-bound and honored to support veterans at all levels of the organization, be it county, community, which is where we have our posts in our districts, statewide, where we have our departments, and nationally, where we have the national organization. American Legion is chartered under 4 pillars. Those pillars include the following programs. Under the Americanism pillar is baseball, scouting, boys state programs, junior shooting sports, American Legion Law Enforcement Career Academy, and public relations. Under children and youth, we have our education and scholarships programs and oratorical programs. Under national security, we support the POW MIA efforts across the board, wherever we can. And of course, we have an emergency response team that responds when we have catastrophes in our communities. Veterans Affairs pillar is really where we do a lot of our work. It's legislative work that occurs at the national level and at the state level, legislating for supporting veterans benefits, changes to those, improvements to those, and so on. Under Veterans Affairs pillar also is VA&R, which is rehabilitation for our veterans,
support for homeless veterans, veterans assistance programs like temporary financial aid and service officer programs to help them get the aid that they deserve so well. And under employment, we support all sorts of programs that help our community hire veterans who really have earned the right to employment. And of course, we have support for veteran cemeteries and the VA MC representatives and our VAVS volunteer services liaisons at the VA hospitals and those kinds of things. We're very active in our community in Apache Junction. We have, as part of our American Dinner each year, we recognize and honor first responders, police officers, firefighters, and a Teacher of the Year. We're very proud of that. We've done that for 20 years or so. So just want to summarize that the American Legion is a 1.5 million member organization, and our efforts are supported by an American Legion Auxiliary, which is about 700,000 members, and a Sons of the American Legion organization that's about 600,000 members. So you're looking at well over 2 million people that are involved in supporting all sorts of efforts, not just for our for our veterans, but also for their families and the community events that we get involved in around the country. Again, I want to thank you for issuing that proclamation. We're very proud of that, and we'll make sure we post that in a position of honor. Thank you all very much for all you do. We certainly appreciate that. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to have one little thing I want to say as well. Is this coming Saturday, March 25th, at the Mountain View Cemetery and Funeral Home over here in Mesa. I'm going to be doing a presentation there as well, but they're having an activity to include a replica of the Vietnam Wall. And so we're going to have some vendors there, and they're going to have some people there doing some talking. Everyone's welcome to come out, and they're also going to have some wreaths that they're going to be presenting to some of the Vietnam era, I'll say past veterans that have passed. And so welcome to come on out at 10. It's running all the way until 4 p.m., so hopefully it'll be a sunny day and not another rainy day. But please come on out and enjoy. Thank you. Okay. City managers report. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. The intergovernmental updates. Does anyone have anything?
I do, Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor. I represent the City Council on the board of GPEC, the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. And in that role, I am privy to information and reports that come across that I am able to review, and there was one report that I thought was helpful and good to know. In 2021 and 2022, the Brookings Institute conducted a survey of metropolitan cities around the country to determine how resilient they were and are relative to the pandemic. They considered 192 metropolitan cities around the country with populations of 250,000 or more. So the Phoenix metropolitan area ranked number 4 nationwide out of the 192 for performing well for inclusive growth, pre-pandemic, and continued economic resiliency and during the public health crisis. So that says a lot about the metropolitan area, the greater Phoenix area. That apparently around the country there are a lot of other cities that are still struggling with this, and we have been able to recover on a much more ready basis. So that's good news, because that means that as we are looking at possible employers or businesses to move into the Phoenix area, and hopefully Apache Junction being one of them, that idea that we've been able to get back on track more readily than most cities around the country is a good sign. Thank you.
Yes. Anything else? Nope. Anyone down here? No. Okay, I wanted to just cover briefly the Mesa Gateway Airport meeting I was at today, and we have, they're experiencing some major, I'll say, record-breaking numbers of passengers services that they are doing and have continued doing. So they are still in a huge major growth. And there's also a lot of additional planning for some additional growth as well for the entire area, to include a new four-terminal gate aspects that are coming up. They started construction on it now, so it will be improving even more. Okay, city manager's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Brian Powell, City Manager. This last week, the employees celebrated and commemorated 18 years in our annual Scrub and Grub of this building, the municipal court, our city hall, its facilities, as well as the multi-gen recreation center. I can't believe it's been 18 years. And since its inception, every year annually, we were so grateful as employees to have a new facility like this and to be able to interact with the public in a new and a more professional manner has really helped us. And we think has helped remind us that we are here as public servants to help our residents. And this year we did another what we call Scrub and Grub. The scrub part is one time a year we encourage our employees to clean up in an extra way around their area of work. Let's get some files cleaned out. Let's make sure that we are supportive of our janitorial staff. Let's show the support to our community and for a really neat place to work. And then the grub part is that we've had the wellness group and then other organizations help support us over the years with a really nice lunch. And I just wanted to say thank you, Mayor and City Council, for supporting that, allowing for us to have a timeout once a year to remember that time and to remember the great facilities we have. The other item for my portion of my report is to let you all know that Senate Bill 1117 has a new striker, and a striker amendment is where new portion of the language has been put in another bill. So it's gone from Senate Bill 1117 to House Bill 2336. We just got that this afternoon. It's a league legislative alert. This legislation will have lasting impact on our careful planning that we're doing in cities and towns. This is the one where the general plan, your zoning has impact in terms of significant densities can be placed in certain areas of your city that would normally have a public process. So we've been following this. The mayor has been following this very closely. It's the Kaiser bill that was now on it's moving to the House, Mayor. So just wanted you guys to be aware of that. The bill provides zero obligations to make housing units affordable. It's being shown to the public that this is a way to have more affordable housing. What it does is remove the ability for our community residents to have access to a public forum to discuss why you may or may not want certain densities of housing in certain areas of your community. So you have a general plan. You've made it very clear that areas north of TP and east of the Y area are certain levels of what you want to have. This bill gets us really nervous. I don't know, Mayor, if you want to comment on how you're working it or not, but I'll just say that later tonight, I'll send this over to you so that you can let your legislators know. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bravo to conclude our report.
Yeah, I'll say briefly on it. The 1117, we have addressed to a couple of our representatives in our area for the Senate, and it has been something that has been, I'm going to say, they're trying to cut, I'll say cherry coat this idea of increased housing abilities, so that would be more homes will be available. Well, that is true, but they're doing it at the expense of basically the rules and what the desires of the community are by just putting in as many homes. They decreased it from 12 homes per acre down to 6 homes per acre, but still, again, it's doing away with the zoning rules that we want for part of our community. And it also preempts, say, commercial zoning. They can come in and put in homes in a commercial building area and not even have to meet any requirements for as far as public inputs.
It would be an administrative act. In other words, it would come to, for example, staff, we'd administratively have to approve it because state law preempts any type of public open house. So it's
Right.
really got a lot of us nervous on your ability to plan long-term.
It does away with the general plan that we've put together and spent a lot of time in putting together.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I have a question. So, Brian, are you saying that 1117 kind of failed and then they redid it?
That's
Yes.
right. That's
then
exactly what I'm saying.
now it's going
This
through-
afternoon, it just dropped in another form. And the term, Matt, can you explain, like, I'm not saying a striker bill, so you worked with the legislature a little more. I use that term in a colloquial way, but it's basically an amendment to, they tap onto another bill in the House.
Yeah, they strike a whole bill and replace it with a whole new one, or a whole new language, and
So they really want this to happen?
Yes.
yeah.
Just got it like a couple hours ago, yeah.
What was the Senate bill number?
Senate bill was 1117, and on Thursday, it did not pass, if I've got the date
So the
right.
House bill was,
Monday it didn't.
Monday, it did not pass.
Yep.
Now it's over in the House, and it's House Bill 2536.
2336.
2336.
2336, isn't it?
I may have said the wrong number. So I'll send it to you. I'm showing House Bill 2536. I may have said it wrong earlier.
2536.
Amend my note.
You got it? Okay.
Okay. And Brian, if they
Thank you.
succeed, are we talking no more planning and zoning?
So so this first statement here is House Bill 2536 requires administrative approval of all applications for any rezoning to residential use, including any applications as single-family to multifamily, commercial to multifamily, multifamily to single-family, industrial. So in essence, to me, it feels like that.
Your Honor. Brian, it's the state, though, that requires us to have a general plan, right?
Yes.
So they're telling us we gotta have a general plan, but now they're gonna tell us that we can't comply with the general plan because they're gonna override it. So what's their answer to that? Why are they telling us to have a general plan?
Because they
That's right.
forget.
Yeah.
I never got an answer on that at all.
Yeah, and I will say that when we were going through the process with 1117, the mayor was in contact with their Senator Rogers, and she was a no.
She is definitely no. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, she voted no this time.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So
But
now
this
it's
is
up
now
to-
in the House.
This is the House.
Yeah,
We
so
gotta
we'll.
start all over.
Your
and-
Honor.
But the Senate, it will have to come back to the Senate.
Your Honor.
Have they attached it to another bill, or is it a standalone bill now?
It's a standalone.
So that's the
still
part, Mac.
standalone.
They attached it to another bill.
So a strike everything amendment is an existing bill. They strike everything that's written in there and replace it with a whole another
Okay.
bill.
Yeah.
So it basically, they put a new number on it.
Yeah.
So, Your Honor, I'm sorry, one more question. Let's say this passes, it seems like they really wanted to. Where does that leave you and staff? I mean, it's okay, so it's no longer public input on this, on what we feel we would like to have our city be. Where would staff fall into this? I mean, they still have to,
Certainly have to meet the building code, certainly have to meet those types of processes, and we would still review it, but they're basically, as I understand, based on this emails from the league, is that we would administratively approve it at the planning and zoning. It would in essence reduce the ability to have that review.
so they're basically just taking the public out of the equation.
Right, right. Neighbors couldn't
Neighbors wouldn't.
influence
yeah.
it through public hearings, nothing
Yeah.
like that.
So remember a few years back, we had, over here before we had Keystone, the four-story complex come, and we had that, discussion here in public, went away, and then another one came, and you felt, the community said, okay, we'll try this. That process, to me, what this is saying wouldn't matter. You would we would have an administrative obligation to sign off, and then they would then go through the building permit process and have to meet the building code, but it wouldn't have a zoning Yeah,
They
to me,
could drop a 30-story building, right?
I don't know about 30-story.
Well.
Yeah, but yeah, they could drop, I think, up to certain, like 5, I don't know, I'd be guessing now, 4, 5, 6 stories, and
It was 70 feet.
I think it's,
It's
yeah.
70
original-
feet,
Yeah.
yeah.
The original one was, they would have the ability to put in was it a 60-foot building?
60 foot? Okay,
And
I thought it
then,
was 70.
if it's near within a mile of a major arteriary, they could put up an 85-foot tall building. But what's a major arteriary? Is that 60, or is that
Idaho.
superstition?
Idaho's a major
Is it
arterial.
Tomahawk before, or is
Yeah.
it Mountain View?
I would
or
think
is
any
it-
highway, any
Yeah.
state, any, right, state route, anything like that.
There was no
considered.
definition of what a major arteriary was. Okay.
Okay, we'll turn, yeah, that,
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on, shall we?
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Al Bravo, Public Information Officer. Once again, just a couple of quick notes so we can get on through the evening. Coming up on April 1st, it's not April Fool's Day, it's Earth Day, and we will be partnering with Horizon Health and Wellness once again on our Ladybug event, the very famous Ladybug release, and all the things that happen on that day. So everyone is, of course, invited to come out in the morning on April the 1st. But if you have some interest in wanting to take part in the festivities, please contact Elena Valenzuela over at Horizon, and she will set you up so you can have a little presence at that event. Very, very well attended every year. As you heard earlier this evening, but for everyone else's edification, the One Water AJ, campaign is underway. One Water, Our Water. That's our conservation campaign that the Apache Junction Water District and the Arizona Water Company are doing together to try to promote conservation in the city of Apache Junction. You can go to onewateraj.com to hear all about it, learn all about it. We got a launch video out there, and luckily I had wonderful council members to help me get the word out a little bit on the opening weekend at Lost Dutchman Day. So thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Solar, and thank you to Councilmember Johnson, and for everybody who took part and helped us out getting the word out that first weekend. You'll see lots more of that coming up. Don't forget, you can get all updates on things going on in the city through the city newsletter. ApacheJunctionAZ.gov/newsletter is a way to sign up. We have a newsletter every Thursday. It's either the council wrap-up or a wrap-up of things going on in the city and events coming up. And that is our announcements for tonight.
Don't see any others. I'll make a quick announcement. Unfortunately, I forgot to announce the livestock show and fair for Pinal County, but I did attend the auction afterwards, and our 4-H group that's locally here in our community was participating. They didn't get to be grand champion for their lambs, but one of them did sell, and it went very well. So they were successful. Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, can I add something? Was it last week? Unfortunately, I got the picture over there too late, but the mayor and I attended the 40th anniversary of the Superstition Community Food Bank. They put on quite a little soiree. It was a luau. It was pretty nice. Great food, great people, and it seems that I was looking around, and I'm like, we need to get more youth involved in this because it needs to grow. It needs to continue on through generations. And lo and behold, in the back of the room there was a table. I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 younger generations, and then they had to get out of there as soon as they could because there's a lot of games being played that the older people were playing. But it was a pretty fun time, and congratulate Superstition Community Food Bank for 40 years.
Yes. I forgot about that, too. Thank you. Okay, public hearings. Application for a Class A bingo license for Dulce Villa. Jennifer.
Vita. Thank you, Your Honor. So before council this evening is a bingo application. These come before council There's a Class A, B, and C. Currently, Dolce Vita is asking for a Class A bingo license. Their application was for 1 night a week, and we did do our development services, our zoning, our public safety inspections. All of them came back with the recommendation to approve the application. At one time, Dolce Vita, when it was under different ownership, did have a bingo license, but when that was sold and became Dolce Vita, they no longer had the license. They are renewable every year with the Department of Revenue. And if you have questions, the applicant is here this evening, which is Richard Cantwell. At this point, does council have any questions?
Does the applicant want to say anything? Okay,
Mayor,
yes.
I move that we, I move the
This is-
applicant.
Public hearing.
This is a public
Okay.
hearing.
I will now open the public hearing. There's a 5-minute time limit with 1 minute warning, and you will hear. Please state your name and address for the record. Anyone want to speak on this? Don't you all get up at the same time? Seeing any speakers, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I move that the application for a Class A bingo license for Dolce Vita Community be recommended and approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Nesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Cross?
Yes.
Councilmember Heck?
Yes.
Councilmember Soller?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Motion passes, Your Honor.
Okay, consideration of ordinance number 1534, amending the city code relating to the Public Arts Commission member and terms of office.
Good evening,
Okay?
Mayor and Council.
Yeah.
Last night I presented this item, and it's basically to change Article 2-9-2 for actually for the membership of terms of office. And we're going to go from 7 to 5. Still have 3 members be city residents, and then have 1 technical specialty, which would be to be in the business of art, or be an artist. And that's it. This is a public hearing.
Any discussion from council? Don't see any. I will now open to public hearing. Again, there's a 5-minute time limit. Please state your name and address for the record. And I see no movement, so I guess I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that ordinance number 1534 be read by title only and the reading of the entire ordinance be waived.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Soller?
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Cross?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Heck?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. So ordinance number 1534, an ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the City of Apache Junction, Arizona, amending Apache Junction City Code Volume 1, Chapter 2, Mayor, Council, and Appointed Boards and Commissions, Article 2-9, Public Art Commission, by repealing and replacing in its entirety Section 2-9-2, Membership and Terms of Office, providing for severability, and repealing any conflicting provisions.
Do I have a second motion?
I move, Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that ordinance number 1534 be read by the,
No.
no.
As read.
I move that ordinance number 1534 as read by the city clerk be approved and appointed with no following amendments.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Nesser?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Heck?
Yes.
Councilmember Soller?
Yes.
Councilmember Cross?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Vice Mayor?
You just got
Okay.
demoted, sorry.
Yes.
All right, motion passes, thank you.
That's just like I got promoted to be mayor of the city of Mesa just this past week, too. Old business, I have none at this time. New business, presentation, discussion, and consideration of approval of an agreement with Uber Technical and Company for design and installation of solar panels at the library.
Your Honor, I could take that.
Okay.
This item is an opportunity for you to consider the approval of entering into an agreement with Gruber to provide this backup service for our ability to maintain quality service or internet at the library. Last night, we had a very robust discussion. Didn't want to put it on consent unless we wanted to make sure you're good. If we are, we can consider it. But we had a great discussion last night, lots of great questions. From staff's perspective, we recommend approval and stand ready if there's any questions at this point.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I do have a couple questions. Do you know whether, who's going to be responsible for roof patch? Is this this is not a lease, I assume, and we own the equipment once it's installed? And what was the other one? Go ahead with those answers.
Okay, so the
following it.
answer to that is it'll be us, and we were very careful about that. I had the same question, worried about that, because anytime there's roof penetrations. My understanding from maintenance staff is that they're aware of it, and they know that we'll have to maintain it, and we'll have to be on top of it. It's us.
Okay, and the other two questions were warranty that comes with it, and was this put out for a competitive bid, or was that not necessary because of the cost?
So in terms of the competitive bid, Matt, it's on state contract is what I remember from last night.
Yeah.
And so we went through the state contract process. And then what was the other question?
Warranty.
Warranty. And we have standard warranty language. I don't know if Joel wants to add any more to that part.
It should be standard warranty.
Okay.
Yes, I told Heather we need to include that, so.
So item number 6 in the contract,
it's
if
in
you
the
were to pull
contract.
it up. 1 year.
1 year warranty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Matt, do we find out about the ARPA money, whether or not this could be earmarked?
I apologize, I didn't email the council like I said last night. As I discussed it with Leslie, we've earmarked it for larger projects like big fiber connection down Baseline Road for the ARPA funds for IT. But we do have fund balance. Some of that fund balance was contributed to by the old, what was the other
CARES
one
Act
called?
money. So the original
you brought
CARES
up
Act
last
was
night.
the first
So we
one.
could earmark it for that as well. But we have room in the budget anyways for this, as we've been working through this, and it was planned for in the budget anyways. But so our intent wasn't to do that, but we certainly can. We could direct Leslie to earmark it as using those general fund savings that were provided for by the CARES Act. So that is an option, but we did budget for it as well.
Okay, I mean, if we can use free money, yeah, why wouldn't we?
Your Honor.
So we'll do.
Is there a situation, though, with the CARES money that if we don't use it, we're going to lose it eventually?
Not with the CARES money.
Okay.
But
So it's like it's ours, whichever
yes.
one we pull it out of.
The ARPA money is, and that's where we're tracking these larger projects where we have to report back and finish them.
End of 26, right? Is that
This was not in that list that we've already submitted and reported to the state that we're encumbering it working towards. So that's the little difference in the approach there.
Mayor?
Yes.
The CARES money, what else can it be used for? Is there some other thing we can use this for that might be more bang for our buck than, since we already budgeted this?
Well, the CARES money we did use, I'll have to go dig out the cobwebs here from several years ago when we did it. We did things like the SWAT vehicle for police. We got an updated SWAT vehicle. We did the business and nonprofit loans to help them. But there was a balance there that was set aside as fund balance for necessary capital expenditures. And the purpose of the ARPA was all PD related. So we've set it aside for those costs as we continue to.
And council member, I might add that this is as good of any project in terms of emergency preparedness. That was
Right.
part of the COVID. I would say this is as good as any reason to to utilize those funds for this.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
We
I think it's
can,
a good one.
Any additional? Okay. Do I have a motion at this time?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that the agreement with Gruber Technical Incorporated for the design and installation of solar panels at the city library not to exceed $76,595.29 be approved.
Second?
Moved and seconded, roll call?
Councilmember Heck,
Yes.
Councilmember Cross,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Solar,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes,
Motion passes, Your Honor.
thank you. Okay, council direction to staff, none at this time. And we're doing the call to the public. I would like to remind everyone, the call to the public is a courtesy and not required by law. It is a time for the public to express requests, communications, comments, and suggestions. Request to speak forms must have been completed and handed in to the city clerk before the end of the city manager's report. All issues shall be presented in a professional manner without personal attacks. Under the open meeting law, the council cannot engage in discussion on issues presented, but may respond to criticism and may direct staff to follow up with the speaker directly and/or place this matter on a future agenda for council discussion. There's a 3-minute time limit for each speaker, and you must give your name and address as well. And I have one, Mr. Schroeder.
Evening. George Schroeder, 2444 West Virginia Street. You can hear my voice is stressed, so don't worry about the volume. Rapid fire again, huh? Maryland asked that I give our chief of police a article that was about a 3-year-old that died from fentanyl. I need more than just a cover story. I need more than just, well, we're working on it. I need more than just, well, the DEA doesn't care. They're over here and they say our criminal informants, we can't touch them. Basically, that's just an overgeneralization, but you know, they can't touch them. So, in my estimation, and this is a very learned opinion, the DEA is the largest drug cartel on the planet. They're here, they're letting their people do drugs, and we can't do nothing about it. Okay, again, I'm hoping that we can get a real deep explanation as to how these people are still in our society, still doing drugs, and we got nothing to say about it. That's why the drugs are still here. Make no mistake about it. I've been at this a very long time. Garbage. I got to talk to Jason at Republic over on Maple Circle. He is our area representative. He's who you want to talk to if you got complaints. I went through a great length to get this number, and I'm able now to pay my bill at the AJ landfill. No questions asked. No, he was generous enough to do that for me, because I told him I don't want to interface with that office. I just want to pay the bill. My contract is with the City of AJ. City of AJ's contract is with AJ Waste, Allied Waste, Republic Waste. So I don't want to be held hostage by a garbage bill, period. And that contract is going to come up, and we're going to get rid of it. As far as your general plan, I want to get rid of the general plan, not the way the state legislature wants to, which is, I agree, not a nice way to do this. Now, Mr. Farnsworth, who I talk to quite often, is my new senator from Meridian to Ironwood, Baseline to Brown. He's my senator. So we need to be asking him, am I going to have to sell my house so they can put high-density housing in my area? Right now it says they can. The way it's zoned, it says it can.
Thank you. And I don't have any additional, so I'm going to close the council meeting.